We have our first official frost warning. No, watch. So we could have a frost, but I figured it was a good time to kind of maybe break the ice, do an unheated greenhouse tour, the first one for fall. So let's see how things are progressing. Oof. That's a tough one. I just sprayed compost tea in here and it stinks. That was a bad mistake. I put the soil conditioner down and it smells good in here until you do compost tea and fish emulsion, then it smells terrible, but that's part of the game, right? New to the channel, this is a Palram 6x8 hybrid greenhouse. I've had it for a couple years, and typically this is the time of year where things really start to boom. It's a little tricky because we have the shade cloth up and all the leaves are still on the trees. So it's a little bit difficult to get the sun inside the greenhouse, but we got to keep it cool. But nevertheless, we do have things growing, and we have things growing nicely. And I even have a huge win in the greenhouse this year. I'm super excited about this one. So I got to start showing you everything, and I'll stop when I get to the huge win. So these are, you know, I don't know if I have a whole lot of hope for these, but this right here, these are my Brussels sprouts that I started by seed, and they seem to be stunted. And this seems to be an ongoing problem I have every year. I think it may actually be the variety I'm using. So I'm gonna have to do a little research on that for next year, and I'll show you in a second why that is. These are collards in the front. I did have one that just couldn't take the pressure. There was a lot of pressure on it and it couldn't hang. But you know, it happens. When I got this greenhouse, it was a dream of mine to grow this next crop, and I've tried for years and I never even really got a good germination rate. And it's funny that it's worked out this way. So this next section is where I originally started it, and then I moved it the next year to another spot. Didn't get any germination. So this year I put it back there, and I made a couple adjustments in the way I sowed it. And I'm super duper proud to announce, not only do we have carrot germination, but we have a lot of carrot germination. So I am super happy about this. I just scattered the seeds, and I'll have to go through here and obviously thin these out a bit. But I'm really excited because if I am correct, these carrots should be able to be harvested sometime, I'd say late winter, maybe like February. I was gonna say January, but I don't want to trip. So maybe February, it would work out good. So I'll be out here picking these carrots, if I'm not mistaken, sometimes around them, because the temperature in here stays warmer during the day, so I can get more and more growth out of them, versus out in the garden where they're gonna kind of lay dormant for a while. So this will help me with a succession picking or harvest, however you want to call it, where I'll be able to get some of these a little bit earlier and then get the ones in the garden later, and so I can have a prolonged period of carrots. And I'm still sowing carrots in the garden as the time of this recording. Historically, I've grown peas on this trellis, and I'm not so sure I want to do that this year. The jury's still out, but in front of it, we have very good germination rate on our rutabagas. So I've done radishes in this section, I've done turnips, I've tried rutabagas, it never worked. And what happened one year is I spilt the seeds. So I had no idea what was up in here. So now that I have just rutabaga up there, I'm excited because I have a better chance of getting like a large rutabaga out of this section. And here's some Brussels sprouts that I purchased, and see how much bigger they are. I need to go find the tag and find out what variety it is, but they seem to be a lot better suited for this area. They're doing a lot better. They've grown a lot, and I need to come out here and just pick some of these leaves that are touching off, because that allows for the snails and stuff to kind of, it gives them an avenue to get on and then climb up to the top of the plant. So anything that's touching the ground, I'll come out and get. This area here is a little bit tricky, and I made a simple mistake. Every year I make this mistake and I forget what I planted, But I know that I put beets here. I put a type of spinach here, a warmer variety spinach. I think I put Malabar in maybe. No, New Zealand spinach. And then I also did a couple kale. So right in this area here. So from here all the way over, you can see it. And if I'm not mistaken, this is where the spinach is. And it's gonna be a little bit later of a bloomer because it's been warmer. Spinach typically doesn't like to be grown when it's hot. But I'm pleased to announce that for the most part, all of these weeds that I was in here pulling not too long ago, I'll link the video to that at the end, how bad it was in here. They're not coming up as bad. So I have kind of gotten a handle on it. And I had a viewer actually comment that this weed is called sheep sorrel. So it was very good to hear that so I could look up and see how to eradicate it. And a lot of what I've been doing has worked out well. Thank you for saying something, because if I didn't have that piece of information, I would have just constantly been trying to figure out what it is. But now that I know, I can kind of take an action against it and then hopefully stop it from spreading outside, because this year I saw it step out more and more into my garden, which is right there. So you can see how the sheep sorrel's taken over that pot. That's ridiculous. Good thing about containers is I can just dump the soil out. This is, I gotta move it. The lettuce that I started in a previous video, and it looks maybe that we have some germination. I'm not quite sure yet. It's been a little while, so I like to come out here and just pick a cell and kind of dig around a little bit and see if we can find anything, but I don't see anything quite yet. So we'll see what happens. Up. No, take that back. Right there. So I believe we do have, looks like the seeds got washed around, which isn't surprising. This is little gem lettuce that I started, and hopefully what I can do is if I can get them to a decent size before we really start getting cool, and plant them and, like, you know, put one in this area, put some more here. Anything that doesn't come up in this area here, I can add. So I'll probably, you know, like right here, I can put 1, 2, 3, 4 lettuces in this area. And this has typically been a really good area right here for the greenhouse because it gets the most sun. And then the other best area is like right here. This is also one of the better areas because the sun clearly comes in this side that way. So tonight it's supposed to get to about maybe 39 degrees for the next 2 nights, and then it'll kind of step back up. Now the tricker is, after this, it's gonna get to, like, you know, after this next couple of days, it'll be like 70s, mid 70s to like 50s at night. So I need to protect this for tonight and for the next couple nights. And one way I can do that, I'm gonna go ahead and fill these barrels up today, and then I'm gonna lock the greenhouse up tight and heat up the greenhouse. And then that will help to absorb heat and radiate it back out at night. And maybe we can keep the temperature in here from, instead being, let's just say it goes to 39. Weatherman's not lying, then hopefully we can keep it at about 45. And then that would really eliminate a lot of that fluctuation that we can get inside the greenhouse, which can ultimately cause things to bolt and stress them out, especially in this tender time that they're in, because we still really have about 2 to 3 weeks before our first frost, and a lot of these plants will grow a lot more and get stronger in those these last few weeks. Now, I was never really excited about fall until I got the greenhouse, and one of the things that's going to help is when it cools down, I can finally get that shade cloth out and get a lot more sun in, and then it's going to help things grow faster. And I have to duck down to get in and out, but it makes a big difference. It's lowered my greenhouse temperature by 20 degrees during the day, so in the hottest part of the day. So that's a big difference. This is going to be a main focus in the winter. Even though we'll still be growing outside of the garden, this greenhouse is our main focus because we can keep things going, and I like to go in there and hang out where it's not cold.